up will be our theme for today's summit, which is ASEAN Emerging Opportunities and Challenges. So, like, before we go on, and before we pass on to the speakers to speak, I would like to first ask a few questions. Number one, how many of you have traveled to more than one ASEAN countries? You can do better than this, right? How many of you are asleep? How many of you, let's try again. How many of you can have traveled to more than one ASEAN countries? Keep your hands up. How many of you traveled more than 2 ASEAN countries? 3, 4, 5, 6. We still see hands, 1 or 2 hands up. Okay? We have seen that a lot of you have got a chance to travel around ASEAN countries. Let's try the next one. How many of you have had work or projects in ASEAN countries besides Malaysia? How many of you are working in Malaysia but your coverage of roles are beyond Malaysia? Okay, not many hands. How many of you hope that one day, hopefully within the near future, that you will be able to work in the roles involving ASEAN or work in ASEAN countries? Okay, more hands. We hope that by the end of today's session, with our 3 speakers telling you the opportunities and challenges of ASEAN, you'll be more fired up to take up this opportunity.
I'd like to respond to that challenge by really saying 2 things. Firstly, how does ASEAN affect me? And secondly, what can we all do in ASEAN in the future? How it affects me is, I think, I work for Rothschild Southeast Asia, and we think of ourselves as an ASEAN business, just as CIMB does, just as AirAsia does. Our market is also ASEAN, and I'm pleased to say that we now have offices in, or representation in all of the ASEAN countries. We run our business as an ASEAN business. What are the challenges? What should we be looking to do more of in the future? I think there's a very simple one that comes out of John's talk, and that is we have to think of ASEAN not as the archipelago. We have to think of it as the archipelago and the Mekong. There's enormous business out to do in Vietnam and in Cambodia and in Laos. Let's all go off and do business in those. Every one of us should say, let's do business in at least one of these countries over the next year. That's my suggestion.
I suppose for me, everybody will know, it'll be based on governance. I think the most important thing that you, as young people, either working for companies or going to start your own company going forward, is you must adopt this nature of transparency. In life, many things can be taken away from you. Your money can be taken away from you. You can lose your job, but they can never take away your integrity. So if you could start having that profit integrity and building a business the correct way, and if you can take that and move it around the ASEAN region, you will be the new leader of the next generation.
When I spoke about the return of geography, perhaps I should elucidate a little bit. If you look at what's in our own backyard, what's called ASEAN, the Malacca Strait, for example, is the oil artery of the planet. Because as China's huge hunger for oil grows, and China is really worried about this, right? It's called China's Malacca Dilemma. Their oil is coming through the South China Sea, it's going through the Malacca Strait, and there's enormous dependence on this. What is China doing about this? It is funding an oil pipeline through Burma. From Kunming to Sittwe, more than 1,000 kilometers, oil and gas pipelines. This is along with oil and gas pipelines with Kazakhstan and so forth. China is building rail links into the Mekong. Remember that Burma. So now with Mekong ASEAN, you have one country, for example, that borders both India and China. The entire rail network of ASEAN is being transformed. This is not a question of the lack of funding for this. The world is awash in liquidity. For those of you who are following what's going on, right? It's not a lack of capital. It's a lack of the managerial talent. The guys able the people able to scope a project, to get the technical specs for it, to bring investment into this region. So there's tremendous opportunities in infrastructure, in natural resources, for example. But the shape of the region is being remade around a new shape of the world, the way the global economy works. And so, we're either kind of bystanders in this or actually pilots of this process.
Okay, thank you all the three speakers. Right now, we'd like to invite 2 or 3 questions. Let's give the opportunities to those that haven't had a chance to ask just now. And we'll take all the 3 questions at one go. Could all the people that want to ask questions go to this microphone and those microphones?
Hello, Shireen from YCM. Sorry, I have an itchy question here. I feel that ASEAN as a geopolitical polity, as of now, is always trying to fill in gaps, a sort of knee-jerk reaction. How do I react to this? How do I become a major oil supplier? But what I want to know is, what is ASEAN's narrative? What is ASEAN selling to the world? How is ASEAN going to negotiate to carve itself? Because actually, while China and India definitely represent an opportunity, they also represent a threat to ASEAN in having the whole region becoming irrelevant. So how does this geopolitical area sell itself? What is its punch point? Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Can we take another question?
Good afternoon. My name is Lindsay Wen. My question is directed to Ms. Shireen, but also to the other panelists. My question, what happens is, I went abroad, and my peers, when people ask about Malaysia, my peers goes, do you know we bribe the cops, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, I ask them, do you bribe? And they go without any qualms, saying, yes. And my question therefore is, how do we change the mindset of my generation to instill integrity and corporate governance in them? I believe small steps actually leads to large strides. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can we give the opportunity to that one? Because just now you had a chance to ask a question in the previous session.
Hello. I have one question. If you look at ASEAN as a whole, it's more of a top-down approach by the political leaders to initiate one single economic area for the region. Taking into account what happened in Europe, certainly you need a strong political will to push your reforms. And given the likes of what happened between Myanmar and Thailand, between Malaysia and Singapore, between Malaysia and Indonesia, between China and ASEAN as a whole, and spread east, can we integrate all of this into a single economic entity? Thank you.
Okay, quick one.
This question is directed to Dr. Peter. Talking about sovereign wealth fund, Lee Kuan Yew Singapore Government Investment Corporation has US $1,500 billion. This is the 3rd largest sovereign fund in the world, the largest being the Norwegian government sovereign fund, followed by Abu Dhabi. Malaysia is Kazana. How come the US government until now has no such sovereign wealth fund?
Okay, so we'll go through one speaker. Choose your favorite questions, or you will answer all the questions. In the interest of time, our Minister of International Trade Industries are here already. So each speaker do try to take about 1 minute or so, or 2 minutes at most, to answer the questions. Thank you.
I will actually be brave and try and answer them all, and I will also answer them all very, very quickly. I mean, the first question is, what is Southeast Asia's unique selling point? And I think I can see 500 answers in front of me. The unique selling point is the people, and that's going to determine the success. The second question is, how do we stop bribes? And again, every single one of you can answer that question. And it's very, very easy. Just say no. The third question was, can ASEAN ASEAN integrates successfully given the history of conflict between its member countries? I think the answer to that is just, it's doable. Look at Europe. Europe had a horrendous Second World War, horrendous First World War, and East and West Europe was split in the Cold War. Europe has come together. That's a much bigger challenge than ASEAN faces. You can do it as well. Fourthly, why does the US not have a sovereign wealth fund? That's very, very easy, because they've spent it all already.
I think I'll just answer the corruption and the bribe issue. Sitting here in front of you, I've managed money now for 23 years. And you can say no. You can take the view that you're not going to be one of those people who are like your friends, who are just going to take the easy way out. As I mentioned earlier, as you progress in life, you're now starting out, you might be working with an MNC, you might end up with your own firm. The only thing that you can take with you is your integrity. So what you have to say, is it worth it? And maybe you think by bribing a policeman or having an easy way out is the way forward now. It will stay with you. And you see many corporates today who may have a lot of money, but they have that shadow of corruption right behind them. And they're not the groups that you want to work with. They're not the groups that you want to join. So those are the types of questions you want to ask yourself and think about. In 10 years' time, 20 years' time, do I want to have that shadow behind me? And you can say no. Many people say no. Many groups, many organizations won't tolerate it. And that's what you need to aspire to be. It doesn't matter if you are a little bit, you don't have the same hand code, or you don't have the same car. All those things are material things that you can get at a later date. Don't be in such a hurry, is my advice to you.
I only addressed Salim's question, first question about whether ASEAN will continue to be relevant. Can the relevance be taken away by India, by the rise of India and China? Sometimes you are relevant just by sitting there and not doing very much. This is about the importance of geography and history again. If the relevance of ASEAN depended merely on the efforts of our governments, and all due respect to the governments and to the minister, we wouldn't be around anymore. And we certainly wouldn't be relevant in this very fast-moving new landscape. In fact, we are more relevant than we've ever been, and it's precisely because of rise of China and India and so on. We're just there, right in between, whether or not we do anything, right? But imagine if we did do something. I'd like to challenge everyone here. Next year, Indonesia chairs the ASEAN summits. Indonesia is chair of ASEAN. Right? My institution, CHARI, is right there, and we aim to support that process and work with them on this. We get ideas in. Come on board with us. Send us your ideas. Subscribe to our newsletter. Right? Small pitch. Subscribe at chariasean.org. And just get involved. So just imagine the tremendous effect that would be from greater engagement. If ASEAN is relevant now simply by its sheer geographical presence and cultural presence. So a lot of this thing about, what is our greatest asset? And I agree with Peter, our people. Why are our people so good for this? It's not just flattering you guys. Because culturally, historically, we're from this part of the world that is the cultural bridge and the trading bridge between China and India. Islamic finance has a role in this too. What do you think was the system of trade, right? The accepted system of trade in the 15th century in this part of the world? They were Islamic financial principles, right? Thank you.
Okay, okay, so right now we will go with John first with parting message to everyone. Let's give it to one sentence. Okay, he has given. Shireen, you have anything to add?
I suppose my advice would be stay the path. Don't go into the same way that so many of these, not only Malaysian taken the easy way out, and they've let the reader run their own basics, rights and wrongs of life. Because honestly, if we want to become the leaders, and we can be the leaders, we have the fabric, we have the know-how, we just have to adopt this cloth of being, or just having more integrity than everyone else. I think that if you can start thinking like that, you will be the leaders of tomorrow, and our country will adopt or receive all this FDIs or capital that is looking to invest in places where they feel that their capital will be safe. And once we can adopt these governance principles, and all you people adopt governance principles, we will be untouchable.
I think my party message, I think, comes from the motto of my firm. And the motto of my firm is Concord, Industry, Integrity. And I think that can be summarised as a challenge for you all. I think Concord, agreement, consensus, there's no doubt that's how Southeast Asia works. Industry, hard work, there's no doubt that that's how Southeast Asia works. The third leg of it is integrity. And all I can do is to completely endorse what Shireen has said. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, our three speakers.